Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is David Mazouz from Gotham, and I'm hanging with your boy Galaxy from Comic-Con Radio.
When Gotham needs me, I will return.
I'm the Riddler. Gotham will remember that.
This begins and ends with you and me!
Do not say his name. Is it Jeremiah Valeska?
Know you're here. Show yourself.
I'm not your enemy.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing in for Comic-Con Radio. Coverage of pop culture events from around the globe. Amazing interviews with celebrities. Daily recaps and reviews of popular television. The Walking Dead. Z Nation. Van Helsing. DC Titans. Flash. The Legends of Tomorrow. Black Lightning. American Horror Story. The Green Arrow. Movie reviews. Everything Comic-Con and fandom from around the globe. Comic-Con Radio. Get ready to enter our universe. Let's go.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy on another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Today we have a very cool dude, a very special guest. We've been wanting him in our studio for a while, but you know, this kid's busy. He's all over the world. He's traveling in some special vehicles and special jets. You might know it by like the Batmobile or the Batplane or whatever you want to call it. But today, we got David Mazouz on Comic-Con Radio. David, what's up, buddy?
Not much. What's up with you?
Hey, man, I'm happy to hear you. Today's a special day. It's Mom's Day. And, you know, having you on the show is just making it even better.
Absolutely. I'm very glad to be here.
So,
Happy
yeah.
Mother's Day.
Oh, hey, thank you, man. Likewise to you, too. I know we're not moms yet, me and you, but, you know, it's all good, right?
Oh, good.
Yeah, man. So, Gotham. You are known by Gotham. I know your career is more than Gotham. You've been in amazing movies and other TV shows and things like that. But for the past 5 or 6 years, everybody knows you as the young Bruce Wayne on Gotham. How did it feel being cast as Bruce Wayne, growing from like 12 to now, what, you're 18? You're into your manhood.
It was a real honor because I think this story is something that has never been told before. You're seeing why Bruce decides to become Batman and explore his very not normal childhood and all the people that he meets and the experiences that he has and the different inspiration that he gets to eventually dress up like a bat and decide to become a vigilante. I was very, very honored to be the one to tell that story. I'm overjoyed that we could finish because, you know, ultimately an origin story is how characters or a city or something gets from point A to point B. And in my specific case, I'm just very overjoyed that we were able to reach point B and to get to that final lap.
Of course, man. You played it excellent. You told the story very well. I loved how your character transformed from when the show first started. You know, that last episode was amazing. You said bye, and then the Batman appeared. I wish they can wait a few years or a couple of years till you turn like 20, 21, and you can actually come back as the Batman. It would have been so perfect, man.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
But you know what? These DC machines got to keep rolling, right?
Yeah.
Your character, a very solid character. It has to do a lot with your acting capabilities. You started this character, at age 12 or 13, and you told it perfect. Like you said, the origin story of Bruce Wayne. I think if it wasn't for you being that character, it would have not been told the same way. How was your thought process during this whole time? Did you have to change every year your mindset as you grew? Because you were still, a young teenager. Did you have to go into certain phases of your mind and say, hey, I got to become like Bruce Wayne to like pull it off?
Yeah, absolutely. Most definitely. I think probably about, I mean, it wasn't like a schedule. It wasn't fully intentional, but probably about twice a season. So at the beginning of the season and halfway through the season, I would kind of regroup and say, okay, where at with what's happening to Bruce, with where he has yet to travel on his journey towards the Dark Knight, and with what he's seen, what is the most realistic mindset and emotional capabilities that he'll have at this point? And I'd always kind of regroup and like ask myself that, and then go from there, just to make sure that this character was steadily following along a path and growing as he did so.
Hey man, absolutely. But just to be honest with you, that mindset you were in, just to make yourself be like Bruce Wayne. I know a lot of it's on green sets and things like that, but if you ever was on set, did you at one point, were you like, oh my God, I'm inside of a Gotham set. It's on a show called Gotham. I'm basically the alter ego of Batman. Did it sometimes hit you like that when you were playing the role?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely hit me. It was more like that less on the sets and more because like that just was kind of a second home. Beyond the first couple episodes. It really hit me when we shot in some really cool locations, because thank God we shot in New York, and New York is Gotham. There are so many places that our location scouts found that were just not only beautiful to look at, but so ridiculously stylized in the perfect way for the show and for the city that we were trying to create. And I would walk onto these sets and I would just go, wow, like this, I don't feel like I'm in my universe. I feel like I'm in some alter universe right now. This is just amazing. And I had many, many experiences like that.
In the DC universe, there's all these multiverses and different Earths and things like that.
Yeah.
But, they took the New York skyline and they beefed it up. I remember when the talks of the show was coming out, and one of our producers here brought us like the first ever released thing for the show. I was so excited. I watch a lot of TV shows and movies, and I'm a fan of different things, but I am still a fan, was a fan, will always be a fan of Gotham. It's one of my favorite shows. I watch a lot of shows. I speak to a lot of artists like yourself and through the years, but I'm going to tell you, man, you're one of my favorite characters. That show is one of my favorite shows, and when the producers told me we're going to have David on the show, I was like, yeah, I got to talk to this kid.
Thank you so much for saying that. That really means a lot.
You're very polite. You speak very well. You're just like the Bruce Wayne on TV. I feel like you guys are one and the same. Do you feel that after a while they started writing as David and adding it to kind of like Bruce's character?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pretty early on, and I don't think this is necessarily unique to Gotham. I think this is something that TV shows like to do, is they see where their actors are taking the characters and what they're able to do with the characters, and they write to that. They write to their actors' strengths. And I was always so appreciative, because the writers would never cease to challenge me. Even if I wasn't in an episode, they would give me to do was almost always something that was new and different and challenging. And I was always very flattered and appreciative of that. I remember when we were shooting season one, for the first part of season one, Bruce wasn't really doing much. He was just kind of, mourning. It made sense that he wouldn't be out and about doing much. He was mourning his parents' loss. And I remember, I think it was episode 15, when I wasn't in the episode that much, but, Alfred and Bruce had like a B or C storyline where they go out into the woods. And there's this really, really emotional moment for Bruce where he remembers his father and his old camping site. And he kicks these rocks down a hill, and he cries, and he falls down the hill. I don't know if you remember which episode I'm talking about. And when I read it, I was really, really happy that the writers were giving me such a heavy, complex scene and some heavy, complex material. I was really excited to tackle it on, and that was like the first time I really noticed it. And they never stopped doing that. It's very easy on a TV show as an actor to get very comfortable doing the same thing over and over and over again and not really stretch yourself. And you kind of fall into some bad habits because your default as acting just becomes this one thing, and you don't really ever stretch beyond that. But because Bruce has gone through so many phases and been so many different kinds of people, there was party Bruce, there was evil Bruce, I had a doppelganger there for a second. Because the writers always never stopped to give me new, original, cool things to do that were different from what I had done previously, I feel like I never fell into that trap, and I was always very appreciative of that.
You did it right, man. And I think they wrote it that way because they knew you can handle it. Your intelligence is on another level. Just by chatting with you today and, seeing your stuff, I feel a great intelligence that comes from you. And I think the writers knew that early on when they met you and they saw you grow into that character, and they understood that you can handle it because, being 12, 13, starting a role, such a powerful role, is a lot of pressure on a kid that age. And then you growing into it and developing it and having such an amazing cast around you with that, I think it could be challenging at times, and you handled it really well. And I feel you're Bruce Wayne right now, man. Like, you're talking like Bruce Wayne. So I'm going to call you Bruce every now and then because you sound that way right now. So let me tell you one thing. I know you started as Bruce Wayne at a young age. Was acting something you wanted to do right when you started life, or you were a little bit old? I can't say older. You're 18 now, but how old were you when you said, okay, I want to do this acting thing?
Well, it was funny. I never really woke up one day and said, I want to act. I want to be an actor. I want to be a star. It all kind of happened very organically, and I just kind of found myself in a situation. It's not to say I didn't work hard. I did, but I never really made the conscious decision to go out and try to become an actor. Basically, I'll give you the short story. Basically, when I was about 5, I have a sister who's 3 years older than me. So when I was about 5, my sister was about 8. My sister really wanted to take acting classes because of something that she saw and got into her head. And my mom at first said, no, no, it's not happening. And then my sister begged my mom. So my mom, figured it's easier to drop off 2 of my kids than just one of them. And it gave her a chance to go to Costco every Sunday while we were in acting class. And it was just really, really fun. I went from when I was 5 to when I was 7, not at all expecting anything to come out of it. It was just a cool hobby to do every Sunday. And, we made like really stupid horror movies that were just really, really fun. It was a creative outlet for me. And it wasn't something that, like I said, I ever in a million years would have thought it would turn into anything more than that, let alone a career in any way, shape, or form. It was just something fun that I did. And then when I was about 7, I was at a commercial workshop. And at the end, there was a showcase for commercial agents. And my mom wrote me a really cute Oreo jingle that I sang. And my current commercial agent saw me and at the showcase, and he asked if I would audition for him. So I did. And he signed me. And then about a year later, I started doing commercial auditions, started doing commercials. At that point, I was thinking, okay, maybe, get some money for college. Again, like completely not thinking it would turn into anything more than that. Like do some commercials, get some money for college. And then when I was about 8, he referred me to my theatrical agent. And, things just kind of took off from there.
That's crazy, man. That's a cool story. Let me tell you something, David. Your mom's an awesome lady. She's really cool. If it wasn't for her,
she is an awesome lady.
We wouldn't have you on the show today. And thank you, Rachel, for everything. But yeah, she's really cool. Happy Mother's Day. But that's cool, man. That's cool that she let you get into it and slowly just fell into it. Of course, you worked hard. You worked hard 5 seasons on the Gotham that we saw worldwide and then on other shows too. But yeah, it kind of trickled into that. That's really neat. That's a neat little story that it wasn't something that was even planned. It just fell into it, and now you can't stop it, man. It's going to be unstoppable. Yeah. This is just Can you feel that, David, that this is just a stepping stone right now? You're just starting out. You just received your red belt, if you say martial arts, and you have a journey ahead of you, man.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's pretty cool. So there's another castmate of yours on the show that you kind of grew up with, Cameron. Did you guys learn from each other as you grew? Because she's about a year older than you. You guys started a year off from each other. Did you guys help each other during Gotham, or were you guys mostly doing things solo?
Absolutely. I mean, for the first part of the show, we didn't have much to do with each other. Just, our characters weren't in any scenes together. And then about, I would say, halfway through season 1, that started to change. And once we were working together more regularly, then yeah, absolutely. We because when the show first started, there were so many cast members. I think it was 14 regulars or something kind of crazy like that, and and I moved to a different city, and my entire life was changing, and I was just kind of getting used to my surroundings, and it was all very disorienting. So when Cameron and I first started having scenes together, it was really nice to be around some adolescent energy again, because I had been away from my friends and around adults all the time. I think you can see that on screen also when some of our early scenes. It was just kind of refreshing to be around another kid again.
That's pretty cool. That helped you a lot, probably, and it helped her as well. Maybe once we get to chat with her, we'll ask her that same question, and we'll see her side of it. But yeah, man, that's great. That adolescence energy really helps a lot, because a lot of the cast members or the main cast members were adults. You had a very powerful cast. I know some of the newbies are now like iconic, but how is it working with Ben McKenzie on set?
Oh, he's amazing. I always learn so much from Ben. I mean, he has so much experience, and when Ben's on set, it always just feels kind of comfortable because I feel like I'm in good hands. He just has that kind of presence where he's very much the captain, or he was very much the captain of our ship. And when the captain was around, everyone kind of felt safe and felt like, all right, well, we're in good hands. We're being led well. And so it was because of that, it was always an honor and a pleasure when he would direct later on in later seasons.
Were you a DC fan prior to the show? Were you into Batman? Was Batman like your favorite character? Who was your favorite character from the DC brand prior to Gotham?
It was definitely Batman, but not necessarily because I read the comic books, just because I knew, I guess, what the general pop culture knows about these characters, but Batman is just an awesome character. I mean, just like, I think there's two things. There's two things for me that make Batman really unique and special, and always two things that always resonated with me and like made him undoubtedly my favorite character. The first is his awesome freaking gadgets, and the way that he looks is just so badass and cool. And it was always something that I was attracted to as a 12-year-old. And the second thing is the fact that he's human and his strength comes from his pain. And he is the embodiment of what you can do if you put your mind to something. And I think that's very inspiring. And that mixed with just the pure awesomeness of like the Batcave and the Batmobile and all of his gadgets that are just freaking awesome, for me, just like sealed the deal. And that's pretty much all I knew about Batman. But I always knew he was my favorite superhero. And when I got the role, I completely delved straight into everything Batman related. So a bunch of the comic books. I got like a couple of Batman encyclopedias that I studied to death. I got every single Batman movie out of my TV show, the animated series. I did it all. I studied it all, and just did as much information as I could for this role. And I immediately, once I started doing that, I became a huge fan. And now I do comic books on a regular basis just for fun.
Wow. That must have been so much fun getting all that bat gear and things like that. Your friends, it must have been a big change for them as well. Did they start calling you Bruce or Batman once you got the gig?
I love how the options are Bruce or Batman. To be honest, one thing I'm very thankful for is the fact that nothing really changed at school with my friends. I've been going to school with the same people since way before Gotham, way before anything acting related whatsoever. And so they always just know me for David, and nothing ever changed really at school, which I was always really happy about.
Wow, that's really, really, really cool and really rare, because a lot of other actors and celebs that I chat with that are your age or was your age at one point, and I asked them, hey, how did your friends deal with it? And a lot of them would say, oh man, my friends thought it was cool, and they would like, this, and it changed things for me in school. But that's really amazing that all your friends remain the same, and they just still know David, and they're like, okay, that's a TV show, but we know you, dude, from when you were a little kid, and Gotham's not going to change anything or how we look at you. So that's a pretty amazing thing to have, because sometimes you need that, because the whole world wants David. I imagine how crazy it gets for you when you go to conventions. How was your first convention, man?
My first convention was in Orlando. I was there with Robin, who plays the Penguin, Sean, who plays Alfred, and Drew, who plays Butch / / Solomon Grundy later. And it was really kind of weird, honestly. Now I am in love with it and I'm addicted to them. I love meeting my fans, and I love meeting my fans then, but it was so cool, and like it was just awesome for me to see that there was a whole world and there was a whole universe of people who were as excited about this stuff that I was, and more so actually. I thought like, these comic books hyped me up, and I was like, it was actually a Walker Stalker con. So it was a Walking Dead convention. It had some people from other shows there, so that's why we were there. But mainly it was a Walking Dead convention, and I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. So I was freaking out when like I sat on the bus like to the shuttle next to the convention next to Morgan, and I saw Abraham. Like I was freaking out, and and yeah, I mean it was just an awesome experience. I was kind of in shock in good shock that this world existed.
They were freaking out for you. You were freaking out for them. It was kind of like vice versa, because Walking Dead is an amazing television series. It's been around a long time. But, Gotham is up there as well, man. It has its own huge, humongous following because you're portraying characters that have been in our pop culture for over 50 years, beyond that. And there's people that knows more about you and your character than even you do yourself because they're just so intertwined with just the lore of all these things, DC Universe, Batman, the Penguin, Joker, all these are such classic characters. And a lot of these co-actors of yours or co-celebs or co-artists of yours that were on the show has created amazing careers out of Gotham. Like a lot of people didn't know them before Gotham. And all of a sudden they're this character on Gotham and they're like, boom. They become stars and they're getting their own shows and they're doing all these things. Like Crystal Reed, she was on Gotham and now she's on Swamp Thing. And all these different people, especially Robin Taylor, the Penguin, he's become an icon character as well. Who was your favorite character or favorite actor on the show to work with? I know that I know you got to be kind of like cool about this question, but who was somebody that you were like, okay, this is a cool person. I really like working with them.
Somebody that was always really special for me was Sean, who played Alfred, just because we worked most intimately together for the longest time. And, we were always kind of together on things. There was always, Bruce and Alfred, David and Sean, Bruce and Alfred, David and Sean, and Spears. So we became very, very tight. And immediately we had like an inexplicable chemistry with one another, and I'm sure that he would testify to the same thing. I the second I met him, I felt so comfortable around him, and I think it shows up on screen. Like I sometimes I watch the pilot, and it really feels like we have known each other my entire life, and it felt like that the second I met him, and that never ceased to be true. I love him with every core of my fiber, and he is so experienced, and I learned so much from him. He's honestly one of the sweetest, most generous people that I know, and I'm so grateful that I was able to work with him, because something that my mom always says, which I think is very true, is acting is like playing tennis. You only get better if you play against people who are better than you, and if you play against people who are worse than you, you will get worse also. It's a very imitative art. Just to illustrate this point more. My acting teacher, who's phenomenal, she studied with Stella Adler and all these really, really cool people, like acting legends. One exercise that she would always do is when she was studying in New York, they would always have to go into Central Park and just talk to as many people as they could for hours on end, just to learn different personalities and just get different backgrounds. Because when you have almost every character that you play is based off of somebody that you've seen or met or experienced in some way. So the more people you have in that arsenal, the more people that you've seen or met or experienced in some way, the more people you can draw from. And I think it's a similar idea when you, like, just as I'm sure everyone can relate to this. Like if you ever binge the TV show, you start to talk like the characters in the TV show. You start to kind of imitate them. It's the same thing when you're acting against somebody. You just there's that little bit of an imitative quality. Your mirror neurons kind of kick in. And working with Sean, I know 100%. All this is to build to this point out. Working with Sean 100% made me a better actor because he is so ridiculously good, and I feel like I was constantly trying to keep up with him, and it made me a better actor. And he was always like I said, so generous and so sweet. And yeah, I couldn't have asked for a more awesome Alfred.
Wow. That's such an amazing thing to say. I can't wait till he hears this because he's going to love you even more. He's going to be like, wow, this kid. And he probably feels the same about you as well. You guys were very intimate on the show, always together. He was your sidekick, your mentor. So that was probably on and off camera too. That's cool. That's really cool to have because sometimes you don't get that, especially with a lot of artists when they work with younger people. They just want to get their scene done and get on moving. But that's amazing that he's helped you and showed you the way and guided you, and you have such kind words. You're a cool dude, man. You say such the kindest things. You're a very humble person, David. Has anybody ever told you that?
Maybe. I don't know. I guess.
Does my questions get you going? Hey, man, I'm just joking around, but you're cool. So I heard since you started your role on Gotham, you've become an amazing comic book, connoisseur. Do you love the comic books now? Do you like read them often? Are you really into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I read them all the time. I love them. They're amazing. They're like honestly some of the best stories, some of the best well-crafted stories, and also obviously along with the illustrations that I've ever encountered. I think these comic book artists and writers have really cracked the code to something amazing.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm very happy that the show opened my eyes to that world because I never would have experienced it otherwise. And I'm just super grateful. If you walk into my room at home, you'll see like stacks and stacks and stacks of comic books everywhere.
Is there anything you learned from the comics? Did you ever like prepare for a scene using scenes from a comic book?
Yeah, all the time. I mean, one of my favorite examples is because it was so profound and it was such a realization for me was I think it was in like season 2 when I was reading Final Crisis. You know Final Crisis?
Yep, absolutely.
And so in Final Crisis, Darkseid kidnaps Batman and hooks him up to this machine, right? And tries to transfer Batman's consciousness into an army of bodies to try to create his own army of Batmen. And all of those people die. None of them are able to live with Batman's consciousness because of the constant hell that's going on in Batman's head. And when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that's such a defining factor for this character, and something I didn't even like really think about before, like the severity of the pain that's constant in his head. It's not something, it wasn't like, his parents died and he had a couple of years even of pain, and then he turned that into strength and now he's all mighty and super. It's a constant fuel for his strength is his pain, and it only gets more and more and more intense as you travel further into his psyche, and time is not healing it. And when I read that, I that completely changed the way I saw, not completely, but it definitely changed the way I saw the character, and it was something that I brought with me. And I have countless examples of that, of things just kind of add to the toolbox, add to the arsenal, add to the layers that this character has.
Absolutely, man. You're really into the comics. That's amazing that you know it so well.
Yeah, like I said, I love them.
Yeah, man, that's great to love. They're amazing things. They're the pathway, the encyclopedia, the guidance to our fandom universe. They started everything. It came with the comics, and now these characters have become so huge, and then from there, movies, TV shows, cartoons, whatever. It's not that order, but I'm just saying the comics started it all, and the foundation of it's so strong. It must feel so good, like I said earlier, that you were cast as Bruce Wayne, Batman, in Gotham. So iconic, so amazing, large sets, amazing storyline. Have you taken any of that and used it in the real world? Have you learned something on set and applied it to regular life?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that I mentioned before with the power of will, something that I always kind of, and like I said, it's not just prevalent in in Gotham with Bruce Wayne, but in the mythos in general, the Batman mythos, Batman is kind of known as the walking embodiment of willpower. If you set your mind to something, you can become because he's just a man, but born with no special abilities, has no crazy special gadgets. I think the only thing, nothing supernatural. Basically, the only thing that he has is money, which it's a lot. It's good. He has a lot of money, but when you're talking about comparing him to people like Superman or the Flash who have crazy powers, it's cool to see that he is just a man fighting on the same level as those people. And how did he get there? He got there by telling himself that he could get there and being determined and not stopping. He pushes his body to its physical limits. He pushes his mind to the point of being the world's greatest detective. And like I said, it all comes from a place of determination. And I think that's a really, really valuable lesson for all of us. And it's something that I've taken to heart. Whenever I'm ambivalent to do something or whatever it is, whenever I'm scared or I feel like I can't get to a goal that I'm trying to get to, I always just tell myself Bruce could do it, and then that inspires me, and that allows me to do it, pushes me there. It gives me the determination that I need.
That's kind of nice to have, right? Bruce can do it. If Bruce can do it, David can do it, because you're both kids. Yes, put the money aside. The billions of bucks that Bruce Wayne has, he's still a human being. He's not, like you said, the Flash or Superman, where he's a meta-human or an alien, where he has these super-duper powers. He's a human being that endured things in life, that created this world for himself. Yeah, you got to have Batman or Bruce Wayne money, not Batman money, but Bruce Wayne money to build those special helicopters and stuff. But you still have to have that human being to have the will and drive to want to become that. So that's pretty cool, man, to have that in the back of your head. Maybe you'll do a marathon. Maybe you'll be doing some kind of activity. And you're like, hey, David, get a hold of yourself. If Bruce can do it, I can do it. That's pretty cool. I like that. Yeah. We should make a T-shirt. If Bruce can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
That's a cool saying, man. I'm gonna make a T-shirt and I'm gonna sell it.
Please, I'll buy one.
Hey, thank you, buddy. So I heard that you had this like Batman growl that you would do on the show, and I heard Ben McKenzie helped you with that.
He did, yeah. Well, it was more just for the very, very last episode when I was speaking as Batman. I think I only had like 2 lines as Batman. But yeah, because Ben voiced Batman in the year 1 animation, and I asked him for his help while we were on set, and he walked me through it.
That's pretty cool. You learn a bit from him as well. He directed some of the scenes as well, and some of the episodes later on. So it's kind of being on both sides of the camera a little.
Yeah, absolutely. He was always somebody that kind of felt like he was in a role of not only being a colleague as an actor, but also a colleague as a creative head or a director. And he also wrote a couple episodes, so it always felt like he was kind of another point person as well as the showrunners to go to and ask about the show as a whole, and not just Gordon.
Not just as Commissioner Gordon or Captain Gordon or Detective Gordon. It's Ben,
right,
the guiding guy on your side on the show. Who else can you say on the show that's been a guide and a help with you other than Sean and Ben? Is there anybody else that you connected well as well?
I mean, honestly, we had amazing directors. So all of them were so prepared. A lot of times with television directors, it's a really tough line. It's a really tough thing to straddle, being a television director, because you're coming in to a crew of people that know each other, that know what they're doing, that have been doing this job for years, that feel very confident and comfortable in their jobs. But at the same time, as a director, you are technically the leader of the ship. You're technically the captain, and so it's a tough thing to kind of figure out how much control do I take over this set? How much leadership do I give? Because these people seem like they know what they're doing, and most of the time they do. But at the same time, I am the director. And so a lot of times you'll get directors who fall to the extreme of not doing enough, because they just kind of assume that everybody knows what they're doing, and they're just there to make sure all the shots get shot. But that was never the case on Gotham. I was always super appreciative of that because the directors would never be afraid to give the regulars acting notes. I know, obviously myself included, and be there to talk about the character. They knew the show really well. A lot of times, not a lot of times, but I've just seen where directors don't really know the nuances that have happened earlier on the show, and that, like I said, that was never ever the case on Gotham. And yeah, they were always a really great place to go to
for guidance, for everything, for things like that. That's great. And you've probably had a lot of different directors grace the set of Gotham. But aside from that, I know you worked with Jada Pinkett Smith early on. Did you ever get a chance to meet Will Smith? Did he ever come on set? Because I know he's a fan of a lot of things. Did you ever get to meet him?
I did. I met him 2 or 3 times. Never on set. He did come to set. I never had scenes with Jada, unfortunately. It was really annoying for me because I really wanted to. So I never saw. So when she was on set, I usually wasn't on set. And when she was on set, that's when Will came to visit. But I met him at a couple of events and outside things that Jada was at.
Who is one character on the show that you wish you had more time on set with?
Yeah, definitely the Riddler. Definitely Enigma. I admire Corey so much as an actor. Our characters were definitely in scenes together, but usually with large groups of people, so we never really communicated directly. Like, I don't think I ever said anything I don't think Bruce ever said anything that was directed specifically at Enigma or vice versa. And I wish that they had some kind of relationship. It was kind of the same thing with Penguin. I wish the same thing with Bruce and Penguin up until beginning of season 4, because in the beginning of season 4 they had some interactions. And I just wish there were some moments like that with Ed and Bruce, because they're both such staple characters for the show. It would have been really nice to see just them together and kind of figure out what that dynamic would be.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. Do you think because you were younger and those guys were older and they were doing like evil things, they wanted you more around, Ben and Sean and Cameron, so there's more guidance and more as far as doing things that were, your age appropriate? Do you think that was it? Maybe if you were older, you would have got more scenes with those guys because you would have probably been knocking them out.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I think where the story went, I don't think Enigma was necessarily on Bruce's radar ever. Bruce was kind of always had his eye on like the big villain of the season when it came to villains, and at times that was Penguin. So because Bruce was very into like fighting corruption at the beginning of season 4, he of course had some moments with Penguin because Penguin's kind of the human embodiment of corruption. And so Enigma was just never really on Bruce's radar, and vice versa. Also, like Enigma was kind of dealing with other things himself, because Enigma was never really the big bad of the season. He was always kind of a character that we kind of rooted for. He wasn't just somebody who we wanted to get taken down. Like I said, I think that was just kind of where the story went in the 100 episodes that it was on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Gotham is origin to the max. Like, if you want to talk about origin stories and you want to talk about the beginnings of things, Gotham is it for everyone. For Penguin, for Riddler, for Barbara, for Catwoman. It's just like the origin to the max, and you guys did it real well. Now I have a little funny question here. If you had Bruce Wayne's money, what would be one of the most fun days that you would set up for yourself?
Oh God.
Come on, it's okay. It's okay. Say it.
I don't even know. I feel like I would just buy everything. Yeah. I would just go into like every super expensive store. I'd just buy out Rodeo Drive.
Would you be like Richie Rich? Like his room?
Yeah, exactly. Like was it Brewster's Millions? Just like try to spend it. But like in terms of fun day, honestly, I would travel. That's what I would do. I would travel in style also, obviously. But I would just see some cool freaking places and just like live it up.
Just live it up, right? Build a room like Richie Rich or Brewster's Millions, and basically have everybody doing things for you. Have an amazing private jet like Iron Man, and just travel the world.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had that type of money, right? Say you had Bruce Wayne's money, would you want to be Iron Man or Batman?
Obviously, Batman.
There you go. That's cool.
Come on, what kind of question is that?
Yeah. Hey, tricky, right? Of course, Batman for life. Batman for life.
Yeah.
You are Batman for life. For the rest of your life, even though you're an amazing, talented actor, you play roles so well. I saw you on so many of your other projects, Touch, and your movies. But forever, you'll be known as Bruce Wayne on Gotham. I wish the show went on for many more seasons. Do you feel that the show ended early?
No, I don't. I think it was the right time for it to end. I think it could have gone on a little bit longer, but I think that we were able to wrap it up in a way that made sense, in a way that satisfied fans and satisfied the purpose of an origin story. And I honestly feel like it was the right time for it to end.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool to hear because there's lots of fans out there that wish the show went on. And of course, you want to go out on top. Do you feel that TV is your calling or the movies are more your calling?
I mean, movies are typically, I don't say easier, but I prefer them mainly just because you have an end and a beginning. And so you can really, really you're not getting things constantly thrown at you with every incoming script every week. You know what your character is doing fully, and you can really, really dissect every scene and every line and every motivation. And you also, in movies, typically have more time. In the factory of a television show, it's a factory, so you have to crank out a product every couple weeks, and everybody gets really good. It becomes a very well-oiled machine. Whereas with a movie, it's a slightly, in my experience, it's been a slightly more creative process where you have time at the beginning to really, really work on the arc of the character and dissect everything to the max, and and you have more time to shoot things. That being said, I also love television. I've obviously had a much more experience in television, so I don't necessarily see either one of them as my calling. I think it's just whatever kind of comes along, and whatever the right role may happen to, whatever media the right role may happen to fall out on, is whatever.
Whatever happens, basically. Whatever happens, whatever you feel right with. And you're a very intelligent person, and I know everybody's looking out for you, and you have an amazing career ahead of you. Is there any projects coming up that you can share with us?
I have a couple of movies that I'm doing this summer. One I'm doing this summer, one I'm doing later this year. I'm not allowed to talk about them right now because they're not set, but there's some really cool things I'm excited about. Hopefully they'll be set soon. I can call you back and discuss.
Man, we would love to have you back on the show. We would love to have you come to our new studio. How can fans reach you? I know you have millions of fans, but how can they reach you on social?
Social media is a great way to do it. DM, comment, I don't know, whatever. And also conventions. I love meeting fans at conventions. So if I ever come to a city near you, please come in and say hi.
Yeah, and it's at David Mazouz on Instagram.
Yeah, it's David A. Mazouz, so David. Because my middle name is Albert, and Mazouz, Mazouz. And then my Twitter, which I go on less than my Instagram, is at real David Mazouz.
There you go, because you got to be the real one, baby, because everybody wants to be you, David. Everybody wants to be David, wants to be Bruce Wayne, but you did it, man. You are Bruce Wayne. You are David. And I got to tell you something. I know you as David. You're an amazing person, cool kid. You have a level head. You're awesome. I'm going to see you in the galactic stars in our universe because you have such an amazing career ahead of you, beyond Gotham, beyond all these things. But fans out there, if you want to see David, you can go to a convention near you because this guy's going to be in all of them. And if you want to reach out to him, go to his Instagram or Twitter. Twitter is at real David Mazouz, or on Instagram at David A. Mazouz, and follow him, give him love, be cool with him. And David, is there anything else you want to tell the fans before we head out?
Just thank you. Thank you for being a fan. Thank you for listening to this interview. Thank you for watching the show. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely amazing, David. Thank you so much for coming on the show. We love you, dude. And with that being said, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is your boy Galaxy on another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio with David Mazouz. Oh man, this was so amazing. Love you guys. Please tune in. Please stay tuned. Please give love. And peace.
Peace.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Galaxy signing out from another amazing episode of Comic-Con Radio. Tune in for your daily shows of Comic-Con Radio. Go to comicon-radio.com. Reach us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Comic-Con Radio. You can call us toll-free right now. 800-976-0305. 800-976-0305. Comic-Con Radio, taking the world one listener at a time.